We are officially live on Facebook on, again, a totally not your average investor show, Thursday Income Property of the Week.
Week.
And this week's property will allow you to lock your low interest rate immediately before it goes up. It comes with $4,200 of buyer credit, which will allow you to boost your returns right off the bat, and it's ready to close ASAP, which means you don't have to wait for construction to happen. So, not bad, right? For a start. Now, I want to tell you a few things about myself before we get started. And like I said, I am Pablo's business partner. So I'm not as good looking, you can see, and I'm not as smart, but I will try to be a good enough host to make this thing run along and for you to get as much value as possible from this show. And my name is Isar Meidis, and I'm Pablo's business partner. Now, with me today is GC. The man we like to call GC because when he's around, you're in great company, because he established a great company and because he's a total golf cuckoo and all those other things that Pablo says, you know, genius concept, generating cash flows, all the other stuff.
I like yours
He's
better.
a great co-host. I know, right? Golf cuckoo is way better than genius
That's
concept.
a new one. You're going to set a high standard. I don't know if Pablo's going to be able to get a seat back based on the number of nicknames you're going to give me. And I think probably references you're going to bring up because you know a lot about me, Isar.
It's a whole new world. So GC, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. It's great to be here with you all. We are off of the heels of an amazing fan appreciation show on Tuesday here. It was absolutely impactful. I know here in the group, in the chat right now, I see all the wonderful names and faces and hellos. And I just, again, wanted to say thank you to everybody for being here today. Thank you all for being here on Tuesday. It was something that absolutely filled my bucket. It was something that brought me a lot of joy to be here and just reflect on the last couple of years with you all. So super excited to kick this one off with you too, Isar.
So for those of you who are new to the show, if you want to know about owning rental properties in your investment portfolio, you are in the right place. If you want to find out about best-in-class property management for rental property investors, you are also in the right place. And if you are an expert in this field of investing and you're looking for the best market to invest in the US, I'll give you a little hint. It's Jacksonville, Florida. You are also in the right place. So if you want to know more or find out more about JWB and or about the market and or about rental investing in general, just go and visit chatwithjwb.com for additional information. You will get somebody to actually talk to you and give you answers on any of these topics. And now, I told you this is not an average, not your average investor show. We're going to do the roll call again. And the person who's going to do the roll call for us today is no other than Gregg Cohen.
You know, Isar, I have been asking Pablo to be able to do the roll call for the last 2 years, and he's always said no, by the way. He hasn't let me actually do the roll call. So today, you know what? Pablo, you're not here. Screw it, man. I get control of the roll call. I get to say hello to all of you out there. I'm going to start with John Henning. Welcome. He says, good afternoon, all. We got this random guy named Pablo Gonzalez chiming in here. Isn't he supposed to be on vacation, by the way?
I don't know. And we have Johanna. So, you know, she's our community manager. So Johanna, if you can kick Pablo out, I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's supposed to be on vacation.
Pablo, he's trying to give us some advice. He says, Isar, change it to the speaker view, though.
Oh,
or did I get that right?
Okay, here we go. So now he's, there we go.
There we go. I think you got it there, right? So Pablo's influence never taken for granted.
We can't get rid of him.
Amazing to have you. For all of you who are maybe new to the show, Johanna is here to help your experience be better and better and better. And so make sure that if you have questions or concerns or things you want to chat about, make sure that to let us know, and Johanna will help as much as we possibly can. We've got Marhana. Isar is in the house, she says. Andrew Barnhill from Georgia, my good friend Andrew. We got Leo from California. He says, good morning, y'all. We've got Lee Bishop, the MVP of the Not Your Average Show. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Greg Stone, howdy from New Jersey. We've got, let's see here. We've got, Lee is the commentator on Pablo always doing all these funny things with his face and chewing his lips. And he says, Isar, you're not chewing your lips and you're not making funny faces. So
I'm working on it.
You're already loved by the MVP. We've got Carl Thompson. He says, hello, everybody. Marilyn Cotterman from Homosassa, Florida.
Home of the manatees.
Home of the manatees.
I've done my homework. I've actually been there and I've seen the manatees. It's awesome.
Ken Manleen, the patriarch of the first family of the Not Your Average Investor show. We've got, let's see here, we've got Rosalind from Marietta, California. I think that's a new name, and welcome to the show. We super appreciate you being here. Lots of love for Pablo. I can see this from everybody. Pablo, you are missed, buddy. And I think that, we've got Jen Filson here from Monterey, the fairy godmother of the Not Your Average Investor show. Lots of love here in the group here, and let's just keep it going, guys. Let's all welcome Isar here. I know it's his first time officially hosting the show, and I know he's gonna absolutely crush it. And so let's make it easy on him. Let's keep the chat going, fire in those questions, and really set us all up for success here.
This is awesome. Great to see everybody. I'm really, really excited. I think we're gonna just, before we start with the property of the week, let's do some announcements. Now, I cannot do Pablo's beep, 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 beep. I can't do that, but I have something much, much better. I've got the royal announcement. A royal announcement. So my first royal announcement, and then I know you have a few other interesting things to do, is that there's going to be another face-to-face community get-together of Northern California, hosted, or I should say organized by the one and only Jen Filson, like I said, the fairy godmother of this community. And it is going to take place on February 5th of this year. So just a month out from now, it is going to be hosted by Ken and Carolyn, right? So they've done one earlier, I think, and it's in Los Altos, California. And if you want to know more, just get in touch with Jen Filson. Jen, if you can share your information in the chat, that would be awesome. If you need additional help and you don't know how to find Jen, you can contact Johanna in the chat, and I can promise you she will help you find Jen. And I know, Greg, you had some interesting news to share with some recent statistics.
I do. I have some things that I'm going to keep you guys in the loop of, just great things to know that I've came across. But before I do that, you know what? There's a reason why Pablo always does the roll call, because I screwed it up and I didn't get to all the way at the bottom of the messages. So I want to make sure I don't forget anybody. Nadeem Shaw is here. We love having Nadeem here. We have William Shields, Bill Shields, with his patented Buenos tardes, amigos. How did I do there with my Spanish pronunciation? And I do want to apologize to Rosalind. She's not new. She let me know that. Rosalind, I feel terrible. Thank you for being here over and over and over again. We appreciate you. And I think if there is anybody else that I haven't mentioned here, I think I'm getting to the bottom here. But if you haven't spoken up yet, we would love you to join the chat. Everybody has a lot of fun here, and so don't hold back. And with no further ado here, let's talk about some of these stats. So, I think it's really important for me, of course, to stay in the loop with what is going on outside of the walls of JWB, is in terms of rental property investing in this asset class in this space. And we spend a lot of time and energy and money with great consultants to help us. And so when I get some really great facts and stats, I'm going to share them with you. So you guys know I'm a big fan of John Burns Real Estate Consulting. He is one of the most influential thought leaders in our space, and we were lucky enough to have him on the show maybe 2-3 months ago now. And so John Burns and his organization came out and predicted the rental rate increases across all of the major metropolitan statistical areas in the country. And so I wanted to share what his expectations were for rent increases in the Jacksonville market. So according to John Burns Real Estate Consulting, they're expecting a 7.8% rent increase in 2022. In 2023, they're expecting a 4.2% rent increase. And in 2024, it's a 0.7% rent increase. So those are some very wide ranges. I don't know if you've ever seen 3 years of differences in terms of variability of rents. You got to be asking yourself, why is this happening?
I was just about to ask.
Why do you think it's happening, Isar?
I don't know. I think the combination of the huge increase that we've seen in the last 2 years in house rates. So people are paying a lot more money for the houses that they're buying, which allows you to increase rental rates. Well, first of all, people want a higher return for the houses that they're buying, but also when you look at the options. So if I don't own a rental property and I can either rent a house or buy a house, things have to somehow be leveled. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. So that would be my first aspect. The second aspect why I think it's declining through the years is maybe the increase that we're about to see in mortgage rates because of the interest rates going up. So maybe there will be less people buying rental homes, and hence maybe less increase in rates.
Great thoughts. Absolutely. Interest rates is going to have an effect more on the buying, right? If interest rates go up, it will force more people to rent in theory because,
True.
it will affect your affordability. But what's interesting here is the opposite is sort of happening, right? If it was only interest rates, and they were just going way up, you would think in 3 years from now, you might have more rent increases because you have more demand, right? The biggest driver here, and we talked about this when John was on the show, is supply and demand, like it always is. And the biggest change that's going to happen between 2022 and 2024 is the amount of new homes that will be hitting the market. We've talked about this for a long time, that we have had an undersupply of inventory in the market. And when you added on all of the demand that has happened because of the COVID world that we've been living in the last 2 years, you have seen huge price increases and huge rent price increases. Well, there is a tremendous amount of building going on. And over time, what will happen is that will equal out and bring you closer to a more equilibrium market when it comes to home pricing and when it comes to rent pricing. And so right now in 2022, this is why not only rents are what we expect and what John Burns expects to go up in 2022, we expect home prices to go up at a rate that's higher than normal. And it's because these homes just can't be built fast enough. And the supply to the market is not going to happen in 2022 in time or in a great enough number to equilibrium the market, to get it to an equilibrium. And so you're going to see higher than normal home prices in 2022 and higher than normal rent prices, which is fantastic that we're doing a show called the Property of the Week right now, because like I have been saying, this is the best time to be actually buying rental properties. And it will not be as good of a time to buy rental properties 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. You're seeing stats like this tell this exact same picture. So I think it's really, really critical for us all to take this in and to think about what you can do to help your financial goals based on this information.
Yeah, well, I will add, first of all, it's fascinating. I'll add one more piece of information that I've seen literally in the past few days. I've seen the statistics of transition between cities in the US. So which cities, no, not cities, states, which states has the most amount of people moving into them and which states had the most amount of people moving out. And not surprisingly, COVID and taxes, played the biggest role in that. So the biggest states that had outtake of population were, can you guess?
California, New York.
California and New York.
People are leaving.
And then the three states that had the biggest intake, Florida being number 1, Texas being number 2, Arizona being number 3, all for, again, the same reasons. So I think that also plays a very big role, right? We have a huge amount of people that are moving into the state. And yes, it's spread across everything and not just Jacksonville, but I'm sure there's a fair amount of people who are moving into Jacksonville as well.
Absolutely. I mean, think about what, on our property valuations, we're going to talk about here in just a second. That's the rate for today for rent, right? Think about what 8% rents next year or 2 years, 3 years from now will do to your evaluation today. Maybe we'll try that when we're looking at the evaluation today.
Yeah, we should. You're talking about almost 12% in 3 years. That's
there you go.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So I think that's a great segue. I'll just say one thing, as those of you who are new here, maybe don't know, this is a very interactive show. So first of all, introduce yourself in the chat and say that you're new, and I'm sure you'll be warmly welcome. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and not in the chat, because the chat moves very, very fast. Pablo just enjoying making fun of me for being wrong for I don't know how many times. So it's, but the chat is moving fast. So if you want to have a question, please ask the question in the Q&A. I will monitor that and make sure that we try to answer that. And here we go. We already have Nadim is asking a question. So Nadim took my cue. And Nadim is asking, what's the rent to value ratio JWB calculates the rent?
What is the rent to value ratio?
JWB calculates the rent.
Yeah, I understand what Nadim's asking. So, so where he's coming from is, you may have heard people say, well, there's this 1% rule out there, and it's an easy way. It's an antiquated way. It doesn't play today like it used to 10 years ago. But people would say, oh, well, if I can buy a house or an investment property and the rent is 1% of the purchase price, then that's a good deal. like Pablo would say. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. That's what they would say.
It's a good deal.
So if the price of a house is $100,000, then the rent would be $1,000. It's an antiquated way. It doesn't work anymore. It didn't work prior to 2 years ago. And then of course, as prices have gone up, rents don't keep pace with prices, and it's just not, you just won't buy any properties if you're looking to buy passive income properties at the 1% rule. But people are wondering now, okay, well, what is that realistic rent price to purchase price ratio? And so, typically for us, it's around 0.7% or so. And, I don't have the numbers right in front of me for this property. We'll take a look at it in just a second here. So, it's not a hard and fast rule. That's kind of a something that changes, right? 10 years ago, it was 1% for JWB properties. It's lower today than what it was, probably somewhere around 0.7%. And it will be lower a year from now, 2 years from now. And of course, that's one metric to pay attention to. Out of all 5 profit centers, that is one thing that's really going to affect your net cash flow or your positive cash flow. So hopefully that answers your questions, Nadim.
And I think that's a good segue. You said we can take a look on these things in this property. I think we'll go to the property. I want to say something that's in my head. So, in this point in time, every time that Pablo does it, we're going to magically whisk you away to something. And every time he uses that phrase. So I grew up in Israel. Those of you who couldn't pick up the accent, that's where I'm from. And I was a kid in Israel. There was a TV show teaching English, like an English teaching TV show that was created. So it's black and white TV back in the 70s. That's how old I am. That's why I don't have any more hair. And the TV show had 2, like a guy and a girl. They were teenagers, and their name was Gabby and Debbie. And they had this magic stick that they could put anywhere on the map, and then they would have a really low budget effect that would go, and they would show up at the other location when they touch the map. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to magically whisk us away and do the effect, and then we'll be there.
We need the sound effects too at all of these fun things that you're going to be throwing into the show today.
I know. We need, like, the buttons. That's what's his name have, the investor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Here we go. So we should all now be seeing the property of the week. It is 6531 King Cloak Road in Jacksonville, Florida. Its purchase price is $205,000. It have 5 bedrooms. Like, if I look at this picture, it's surprising, but it has 5 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. And its estimated rent is $1,300 to $1,350. And again, we can play with that afterwards and see what that does. If you're looking at conventional financing, you will get a monthly positive cash flow of $135 and an ROI of 8.1%. That's not bad at all. So I'm wondering, Greg, what made you choose this particular one? What do you love about this property?
I thought you'd never ask.
Let
me tell you what I love about this property. So, I'm just going to be real with y'all. Like, there is a real advantage to buying a renovated property today than over a new construction property. And I hope you all, especially those who watch the show consistently, know that I love both renovations and I love new construction properties. I have both in my own rental property portfolio. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that right now, for a brief moment in time, there is an advantage to buying a renovated property over a new construction property, right? And what's driving this is what's happening with interest rates. All right. The Fed has come out and said that they are tapering back the purchases of bonds and mortgage-backed securities. And I know that's a lot of stuff that people don't like to really pay attention to there. But what's happening there is the Fed is no longer pumping as much money into the economy. And this money that they have been pumping into the economy has had a direct effect on on keeping interest rates low. So when they remove this money that they're pumping in every single month, it's going to have an effect on rising interest rates, and it's going to happen quickly. When I say that they're pumping this money into it, they have been pumping $120 billion a month since March of 2020 into the economy. And they're taking that away, and they're ramping it down in the span of maybe 4 months, 5 months, like $120 billion a month to zero. And that's what's partly been keeping interest rates low. That's what's been happening. And now it's going to be zero. So you would expect that interest rates will rise because of this. In addition to this, the Fed has already come out and said that they're going to raise short-term interest rates quickly. They said they're going to do it 3 times in 2022. And short-term interest rates have an indirect effect on rising interest rates for all of us, for our mortgages, when it comes to buying rental properties. So I say all of this just to highlight that this is the reason that renovations have a clear advantage to buying new construction right now. And it's because when you buy a property like this one on Kinloch or any property that is renovated, you can put this under contract and you can immediately lock in your interest rate. Many folks who haven't bought a rental property or a property in general might not know, but when you lock in your interest rate, you give yourself either 30 days or maybe 60 days where that interest rate stays the same. And then you have 30 or 60 days to close that property and get today's interest rate. And if you compare this to a new construction property, you put it under contract today, it's not completely built yet. You have to wait another 4 months, 5 months, 6 months until you can actually close on that property. So there's great interest rate risk right now with new construction properties, and you mitigate a lot of that with a renovated home. And so that is the first thing, because when you can lock in an interest rate on a 30-year loan and do it at a 4% rate versus a 4.5% rate, it pays you so much over the course of 30 years of that loan or however long you own that property. So there is a distinct advantage to buying a renovated home. That's why I chose a renovated home for you for the property of the week. And guess what? Guess what I'm going to choose next week for you? It's going to be a renovated home.
A renovated property.
It's going to be a renovated home, right? Because there is a distinct advantage. And I think that is really important for everybody to help you build your long-term wealth. That's not the only reason that I love this property, though. I love this property because you can close on it quickly. You don't have to deal with construction delays like we were talking about. Nobody likes to deal with construction delays. When you're buying new construction homes, guys, there's a ton of construction delays. We're going to do our best to give you a timeline of when it's going to be done. But the reality is that the new construction world right now and supply chains are a mess. And there's delays there. So you don't have to deal with that. And then there's this other thing called a buyer credit that the client who buys this property will get.
$4,200. That's a lot of money.
$4,200. What that means is you buy this property, and then day one, when you close in that first month, JWB actually credits you $4,200. When we're thinking about your return on investment, when you wind up with $4,200 right after closing, that does amazing things for you to start off in a very positive stance for you to hit your return on investment goals. And the reason that we do this buyer credit is because right now this property is under rented compared to what market value should be for the home. Market value of rent for this home is $1,325, as we see on the evaluation here. Right now, JWB is managing this home and it's under rented. It's rented for $1,150. So what we do to make sure that you're set up for success and to make sure this is an asset that we can sell to you as a client, we go ahead and we give you that difference for a 2-year period. And that's how we get to that buyer credit of $4,200. That's very rare. I haven't suggested a property. We haven't had a property with a buyer credit probably in 3 months on the show. And so there's a lot of reasons why I love this property on Kinloch, and a lot of reasons why I love renovations in general.
There's a lot to love. So before, there's a bunch of questions that popped up, 3 actually. So where people are warming up. So before we dive into the questions, I want to say something I forgot to say, Pablo. So here's another mistake you can talk to me about later on. One, if you're listening to the show on a podcast or watching it on YouTube and you don't have access to the sheet, you can find it if you go to jwbinventory.com and you can download the sheet and see everything that we're looking at. If you're in the show right now and for whatever reason you want a copy of this, you can do the same. Just go to jwbinventory.com. Johanna, our amazing community manager, shared it earlier, but if you can share it again, Johanna, because I just said it, then people can grab the link and just click on it and get the property. And with that, let's go to the question. The first question came from William Oxley. He's asking, what if it's your primary residence? Is new construction better than renovations? I think it's a very interesting question.
It's a great question. You know, anything that you can lock in your interest rate today versus locking in your interest rate 6 months from now has a distinct advantage in my mind. So if you have the opportunity to buy new construction and it is built and you can close on it right now, lock in your interest rate right now, then to me, it goes either way. Now, I'm thinking about it from the investment lens, right? If it's a primary residence, there's more emotional components that you should have in this decision, right? Living in something brand new versus living in something that's not brand new probably makes you and your spouse and maybe your kids feel a little bit better. So, maybe there's an advantage there. I'm going to let you decide all that emotional stuff, right? Or whatever matters to you. But from an investment perspective or from a cost perspective, even if it's your primary, anything that you can close on now mitigates the interest rate risk, and the interest rate risk is so costly over time. And so, so I hope that answers your question, Bill.
Next question is from Lee Bishop, and Lee says, Gregg, on average, you spend about $40,000 to bring a renovated property up to JWB standards. The house in the picture looks great. Can you cover and go over some of the upgrades that this house has?
Lee, great question. I actually just got out of our quarterly manager meeting, so I have the updated numbers on our average property turn cost, and you're right, it is $42,000 over the course of the last 12 months. Our average renovation cost $42,000, which is amazing, because you can see here the size of our homes is not that large, right? Let's see, let's go to the square footage. This is a 1,700 square foot home. So to spend $42,000 or something similar to that on this home means that we're doing a lot of work on the property. And I don't have the scope of work in front of me. For anybody who wants detailed information on exactly what we renovated on this home, we're happy to share that with you. That's why you'll want to go to chatwithjwb.com. And I know Lee is an incredible client of ours, and he knows that his portfolio manager would be happy to supply that information for you. So it's there for you. I don't have it in front of me, but I do know that we always pay attention to the major mechanicals to make sure that you're not having deferred maintenance. The major mechanicals would be your roof, your electric, your plumbing, your AC, right? You get those right, you're doing the majority of the battle the right way. Beyond that, there is a standard that we need to make sure that our homes rent very quickly and also withstand the damage that somebody living in your home for 4 years or 5 years on average is going to do to the home. And so you'll find things like hard surfaces on the floors in the living areas, upgraded paint options to withstand the blemishes that happen. A lot of other things that we're going to do, because at the end of the day, we're here as a management team to keep your home rented, to decrease your days on market, so we decrease your vacancy cost, and to decrease your maintenance costs. Those are your two biggest pain points as an owner of rental properties, and your property management team and the construction go a long way to minimizing those things.
And we talked about this before. I'm a very average real estate investor, probably a below average real estate investor. And I have some horror stories from one of the rental properties that I own and manage myself. And if we have time in the end, I'll bring some of these up, because you mentioned some of the hard costs that go into the surprises when you buy an old home and nobody renovates it for you because you just bought it and you don't think you want to invest $40,000 into it. What happens in the next 3, 4, 5 years when you own that house. But hopefully we'll get to that in the end. But for now, I have another question from Daniel Lee. Daniel says, hi, Gregg. Is your inventory for new construction going down or still all readily available? I noticed the past few properties of the week has been renovations. I think you kind of answered that in saying why you chose that and what's going to be next week, but I would still let you answer that because I think he deserves an answer.
Yeah, Daniel, thank you so much for that question and for being on the show here. You're right. I have been promoting on the property of the week. I have been putting in front of you renovations, and it's because I deeply believe there's an inherent advantage to renovations for this brief moment of time. And that's really how I position the property of the week. I take a look at our inventory and I'm like, okay, what do I think would be best for somebody at this absolute moment in time? So that's why you've seen more renovations. We do have new construction properties as well right now. We have been building, let's see, we finished just about 300 brand new builds in 2021, which was incredible production. We have over 320 homes that are active builds right now.
Wow.
That are going to be built out for next year. I could go down the line. Even before that, there's a lot clearing stage and kind of pre construction stage, and there's like 200 properties there that are there, right? We've got like another 300 that are in permitting. And so new construction, while it may not seem like that because I'm putting renovations in front of you right now, new construction is actually the overwhelming majority of the type of inventory that we have. And so we do have renovations right now beyond this one on Kinloch. And I just think it's the best thing for you at the moment. But also new construction is there. New construction will continue to be there for our clients. It's not going anywhere. In fact, it's going to increase in volume as we get in closer and closer to, as we get go down the line in 2022.
Awesome. Before I go to Ken's question, and I have a follow-up question to the question you just answered, kind of like in timelines, right? So you said there's these different steps. You got permitting, then you got ground setup, and then you have the actual construction. Roughly in those phases, what's the lead time between that to when the house is ready for you to actually sign the dotted line and put tenants in?
Great question. So, and it has changed a lot because of COVID, because of the incredible amount of building permits that are thrust upon the building department here in Jacksonville and across the country. You know, if I went back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you typically put a home in for permitting, and it was kicked back out to you 30 days later. You had a permit and you could go vertical. For a while, again, for those who follow the show, we were talking, about a year ago, we had huge delays. I mean, we had houses in permitting for 6 months or longer. We still have houses in permitting that have been in there for longer than 6 months that have not been kicked out by the building department, the building department. So right now, I don't know what the average is from the time that you apply for a permit to the time that it gets kicked back out. It's crazy, but it's longer than we want. From that point, when you receive a permit, there's about a month or two of lot clearing and site prep that we do. From that point, it then goes to being going vertical on the house. And that's usually a 4 to 6 month process of building a house. So you're looking at, 6 to 12 months to build a house, depending on when the building department wants to kick this out. And then if we relate this back to what we were talking about with supply of inventory, this is why 2022 is such a special year. I don't feel like the writing on the wall has ever been this large that you're going to see home price increases and rent price increases because we have this lack of supply right now, and they haven't figured out the technology to build houses in mass and turn them over in 30 days, right? If you could, you'd probably see an equilibrium market sooner, right? But that's just not possible with building the way it is right now. So that's why I think it's a special moment in time. That's why I am telling you right now, I think it's the very best time to be buying rental properties. And it's because of the effect of interest rates. Like we have been talking about, the interest rate risk here. If you buy 6 months or a year down the line, I think it's going to be higher interest rates. Very, very, very positive about that. And I also understand how the dynamics of building work, and you just can't build enough houses to reach equilibrium. So I'm really confident that home prices are going to go up next year too. So it's not normal that you have that writing on the wall.
I agree. It's very, very clear right now what's going to happen and what's happening, at least in the next 2 years, right? It's pretty obvious. And like I promised, so Ken, the host of the next meeting. Thank you, Ken, so much for doing this. It's really warms the heart, right? That somebody from the community is hosting a community get together at their house, and he's asking, it's a 5-bedroom property. Is this more vulnerable to multiple family occupancy and hence higher potential for wear and tear at the home? Interesting question.
Great question. It's interesting that the terminology there, Ken. I can appreciate where your concern is coming from when I hear is the home more vulnerable to multiple family occupancy. I'm wondering if he means like multiple family members or multiple families in the home.
I would guess the latter, but
you don't. I mean, in a 5-bedroom home, you're not going to have multiple families living in that home. A lot of that will come down to effective property management, to making sure that you don't have people living in the home that you didn't intend to. We don't have multiple families living in our homes, and so a 5-bedroom home or a 4-bedroom home, is not more vulnerable to that. I guess it could happen in a rare circumstance, but we would make sure that it's a good thing for you to do that. And I just don't see that happening there. I think a bigger question that might help others, when we're coming down to maintenance cost is, are you going to see higher maintenance costs for a bigger home or more a
Wear and
5-bedroom home
tear.
versus a 3? Yeah. Are you going to see more wear and tear? And if you have a bigger home, you would imagine that you are going to have a higher cost to maintain it, right? That just makes sense, right? But there are other advantages for a larger home that may offset that, right? I love 5-bedroom homes. I love 4-bedroom homes. I love 3-bedroom homes. I love 2-bedroom homes because there's pluses and minuses to it. I'll tell you that there are a lot less 5-bedroom home options for residents who want to rent in Jacksonville and in the country than 4-bedroom homes. So if you can own something where there's a lower supply of it, it's a real positive for you, right? Over time, you probably are able to keep your home rented more and quicker, and maybe even get higher rent than you could, or higher rent appreciation than a 4-bedroom home or a 3-bedroom home, which has more supply out there. So for us, we are agnostic when it comes to 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom. There's some slight pluses, some slight disadvantages maybe, but nothing that we make decisions on where I would recommend one over the other for you.
Okay. I'm going to go to Leo. Has a great question. He says, I have another property that has some equity on it. I like to explore cash out, refi, or HELOC. I'm planning to get another property as soon as I can, as I still have a job. LOL. Hopefully you'll keep your job. I really hope so. So he's saying, I can't do anything right now as my potential second JWB property is about to done by next month and don't want to mess around with my credit score. What do you guys think? So basically he has a property he's about to close on. He doesn't want to mess around, but he also has another property that he can cash out on and maybe buy another one. Interesting situation.
So let's talk about first things first. And when you are getting close to closing a loan, do not apply for new credit. We talk about interest rate risk again. If you apply for new credit, a month before if your loan is approved and you're about to close it, it throws the entire thing off. Many times you may have to restart the entire process. You may lose your interest rate lock. Don't do that. So, Leo, just stay the course as far as applying for new credit while you are this close to buying your next JWB property. With that being said, there might be other solutions to this. I'd be really interested, Leo. I think the best thing to do is to talk with your portfolio manager, Leo. Just some ideas to throw out here. I mean, look for other sources of capital that would not throw off your debt to income ratio. What you can do is we can look at this in advance before you apply for new credit and do all that. Don't do that, but we can run the scenarios and see other sources of funds that you may have, that you may be able to buy an additional property and close at the same time as the one that you're planning on buying in the next month, which would be great. You could probably lock in that same interest rate. Of course, there's just a ease of use component. You don't have to apply for 2 loans versus 1 loan. So I think you're at a prime time right now, Leo, where you talk with my team and we go through all of the funds and the resources that you have, maybe thinking about a HELOC on your primary. Again, I don't want you to start a new HELOC, but there might be something there. There might be ways to increase your home equity line of credit, which would not be you applying for new credit, but you might be able to raise the HELOC. So the big thing is don't apply for new credit. Talk to the team. We may be able to make the best of all worlds here happen for you to add a property to your portfolio and with no risk of screwing up the one that you are set in for.
Yeah, if you missed it, do not apply for new credit. I think that was pretty loud and clear. So thank you for that.
Love it.
We have another question from William Oxley. Greg, this one, I love this one. Those of you who don't know, Pablo, in addition to being the host of the show and my business partner, is also an amazing commercial actor. So if you're looking for commercials, you can hire Pablo. He's doing some side gigs to pay the bills. But Greg, do you see a spike in new construction with JWB because of the late night commercial with Pablo to buy land from those looking to sell it? Has it brought any new business opportunities for JWB?
Bill, this is amazing that you are referencing this commercial that Pablo and I did. It literally, it was a flyer thing that was brought to us and said, you know what, you should probably do this. It came from a really respected friend who said, you know, just do a commercial. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It'll pay off. And so we spent a little bit of money, and I called up my buddy Pablo. I'm like, hey man, let's go shoot a commercial. And of course, Pablo's like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. And so we do run a commercial here locally, and it's Pablo and myself, and we're talking about how we can help people buy many times vacant land or distressed properties and things of this nature. And literally, I am getting hit up by all of my friends and folks in the show now as well. So thank you all for bringing it up. I can't go down the street anymore without somebody saying, like, listen, I see your commercial. So it's just really funny for both Pablo and I. It has brought a lot of new business to JWB. I'm just amazed that this commercial has really worked as well as it has. You know, I think we bought, I don't know, 15 or 20 properties just from the commercial. It's only been running like a couple of months, which is really good for a brand new campaign on the acquisition side. To put it in perspective, it's not the number one way that we buy houses. This past year in 2021, we bought 992 properties, 992. Our most by far in our company history. So for all of you, just so you know, when I'm saying this is the best time to be buying properties, I want you to know that that is what we are living out here at JWB as well. We absolutely believe it. Bill's question was about a spike in new construction. That spike in new construction started a year ago, 2 years ago for JWB, where we absolutely ramped up the number of starts that we did. Last year, our goal was to start 600 new homes, and we fell a little bit short of that. I think we started probably about 350 or 450. The main reason why we couldn't start more, you guessed it, building department delays, right? Supply chain delays. But starting 600 was our goal in 2021. And the reason was because we knew that we needed to build this inventory to have it for you all so that you could buy turnkey properties. And so that we could lock in, we already had the land, so we could lock in lower building costs and be able to sell it so that it can positively cash flow for you. This year in 2022, this is the year that we're going to start 600 homes, new construction homes, and we're going to finish 600 homes. That's our goal here. So your answer, or your question is spot on. There is a spike in new construction activities within the walls here at JWB. It's going to be for everybody's benefit because we're going to have inventory for you all. Whereas other people have waiting lists right now. When the time is right for you all to start to acquire your rental properties, especially now and over the next year, I think, listen, interest rates are going up, but they're still going to be lower than when I was buying, 15 years ago. We're going to have that inventory for you. And a lot of that is going to be new construction.
Amazing. A quick yes/no question from Lee Bishop about this particular property. He's asking, is this property near other new JWB properties?
This one is. And Lee asked some of the most insightful questions. This property is in 32219, which is the north side of Jacksonville. And the first client that I thought of who has a property in 32219 is actually our beloved Pablo. His property, oh man, it's on Lucky Drive, 32219. If I'm,
you have to buy a house on Lucky Drive, right? It's just,
yeah,
it comes on. It's just, you got to do it.
So yeah, so we have a lot of homes. There's 4 neighborhoods in the Jacksonville market, in any market. All we invest in is Jacksonville, but there's 4 neighborhoods in Jacksonville that we just absolutely try to dominate here at JWB. This one is the north side, which is where this property on Kinlock is. There's the west side, there's the south side, and then there's the Arlington neighborhood. And this is in the north side. It's one of our bread and butter properties. There's hundreds of other properties within a couple mile radius of other clients that own properties, and that consistency helps everybody make sure that we can consistently hit your returns.
I think it's amazing. I'll tell you what's amazing about this. I said this is a yes/no question, and it took you about a minute and a half to answer it. But
yeah, Pablo knows that if he wants me to like shut up or like answer it, but like wrap it up, he's got to like prepare me. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep talking. I love hanging out with you guys, so I'll just keep talking. You're talking my real estate game, like, man, I could talk about for this forever.
So now I have a little surprise, right? So we have Jen Filson, the fairy godmother of this community, and she sent in questions in advance. And actually, the first question is spot on because I'm in a similar situation. So I definitely want to hear the answer. So here's the question. The question is, she's saying, I have $50,000 I could put into one, hard money loan, two, use as a down payment for a JWB property, and three, pay off one of my existing mortgages. Which one has a better ROI? But there's a kicker. And the kicker is that her debt to loan ratio doesn't allow her to qualify for a large loan amount like $80,000. So there's a limit to how much loan she can take to do number two, which otherwise may have been the easy choice. So number one, hard money loan. Number two, use it as a down payment for JWB, but with the limited incoming money capability. And number three, pay existing mortgages.
I love it. I love that we have the property of the week evaluation up here because I think we're going to be able to, I'll walk you through
awesome.
My recommendation here, but we'll also be able to see it. All right. So we've got $50,000 that we can put in play here. We've got three alternatives. Let's go and define really what the return on investment is for each of those three alternatives. And we can also talk about the risks or the rewards as well here. So a hard money loan, for those who aren't familiar with hard money or private lending is what we call it internally here at JWB. That's where in essence, you become the bank for a real estate developer. And as the bank, like any bank that you would get a mortgage from or buy a property and use their fund, you would get a mortgage from JWB. And there would be a set interest rate that you would earn while JWB is borrowing your funds. And those funds are directly used on a real estate project. Many times it's buying a piece of land and building a new construction home. And so that hard money loan or private lending for JWB at least pays 10%. And so if we think about what the return on investment, the potential here is it's a flat 10%. Okay. If the market goes bananas and goes way up, what's the return on investment from a hard money or a private money loan, Isar?
The same as it was before.
Exactly. Right. So it's 10%. Now, if the construction project takes forever and there's so many more costs and there's vandalism, somebody steals something off the job site and all this, what's the return on investment? What's the return for Jen in the hard money loan question?
Still 10%.
10%, right? So it's flat 10%. Isar, thank you, man. You know what?
I'm so good at this. I keep on asking those 10% questions. I'll get them every single time.
There we go. There we go. So there we go. 10% for the hard money loan option. Use as a down payment for a JWB property. Isar, I think this would be a great time to talk a little bit about the 5 profit centers here.
I agree.
Right. And if we zoom in, you want to try to zoom in on the estimated conventional financing total monthly cash flow here.
Absolutely.
Right. So we know that hard money or private lending is a 10% return. You can see here for conventional financing, you've got total monthly cash flow of $135 a month. Without going too much in depth there, what you're looking at there is on a normal month. That's how much money you're putting in your pocket. You've got the rental income coming in. You've got your set normal expenses that happen. And this thing's kicking off, $135 a month. The main thing there is that it's paying for itself, right? So you got that. That is one profit center. Net rental income or positive cash flow is one profit center. There's 4 other profit centers. Those other profit centers are tax savings, principal pay down, home price appreciation, and inflation hedging. Well, as we look at this 8.1% return on investment number, that only takes 3 of those profit centers into account. All right. Again, if we're talking about hard money loan, private lending, it's synonymous, right? There's one profit center, and that profit center is 10%. Here, what we're looking at, if she was to use it as a down payment and buy conventionally financed property, she's looking at 8.1 as an estimated return on investment, and that's only 3 of the profit centers. Isar, what profit center am I forgetting about putting in there at the moment?
Well, the first one and the biggest one, especially this time, is appreciation, right?
Exactly.
So that's going to be, that by itself could be another 8 to 10% in the next 2 years, which do not show up on this sheet.
It could, but let's expand on that thought a little bit. Okay. So it's 8 to 10% might be what the market's going up. Let's just say it's 10% that the market is going up.
Okay.
But if you only put a fraction of your money down on it, your return on investment, if the market goes up, is actually a lot more.
Correct.
Let's say you
Because
put
it's 10%.
25% down. Yeah.
Yeah. It's 10% on the full amount and you just put 25% of the money.
Yeah. If you put 25% down and the market goes up 10%, your return on your investment, your return on your money is actually 40%.
Yeah.
Right. So let's put that average appreciation rate in Jacksonville over the last 30 years. It's been 4.3% per year on average. 4.3%. And Isar, if you wouldn't mind putting that into that column E, row 32 there, it's currently had 0% appreciation. Yeah, right there. Put in 4.3% there. Now look at your total return on investment. Okay. Market went up 4%, but the return on investment went all the way up. It went up a net of 16% because of, a little bit more than that, for a total return on investment of 24%. And I haven't even talked about inflation hedging. I don't even evaluate that into the evals because it's somewhat complex and we don't need to be quite honest. That's a bonus on top. So this is really what we're looking at. Now, the caveat to this is you have to be buying and holding for a full market cycle to do this, because that's the way home price appreciation works. You have to buy and hold for a full market cycle. A full market cycle is 10 to 20 years. And the rationale here is if you look at any 10, 15, 20-year market cycle, going all the way back to 1982, what you'll find is that the average appreciation rate along those series of years is very similar to what the overall average appreciation rate is for that 40-year time plan. That's why real estate is cyclical. It comes back to the norm. So if Jen's thinking about buying and holding this for the long haul, like I know she is, because I know Jen, she's amazing, her and Renee, and I know what their plan is, then your choice, Jen, would be a 10% flat return from private lending or hard money lending, or the potential upside of over a 24% return when you're looking at all 5 profit centers from owning the asset. Now, what's the downside to this? Isar, what if she owns this property and the market goes way down? Pricing goes way down. Will she earn more or less than 10% return?
Well, I would say 2 things about this. First of all, she may earn a little less, but the 10% is for a very short period of time, right? So the 10%, she'll get back 10% for the next year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, but not for the next foreseeable future where if you own the asset, it's going to keep on paying those 8% over as long as you're going to hold that asset, right? So you may make 10% for 3 years. You may not be able to make 10% 5 years later because JWB may find other sources of financing and will not take your money and pay you back 10%. And now you're stuck with money that made 10% for the first 2 years.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Private lending is more active in the sense that you are going to get paid back by JWB and you have to source another loan. Whereas rental properties are more set it and forget it. You buy the house, you have the management in place with JWB, you got the loan in place, right? You don't have to do anything to continue to earn that income stream. You bring up another really good point that the market, dependent on what the market does in the short run, really has no impact on the year-to-year actual take-home return. What I mean by that is I started to invest in 2006. Started to buy about 40 rental properties over the course of the first year and a half that I started to invest, and those produced $100 a month, $200 a month, and from my positive cash flow. And then my market value from 2007 to 2011 went down 35%.
I've been there and done that.
Yeah. Now that didn't affect me. Like I still earned my positive cash flow every single month. That's why I love this asset class. It mitigates risk that way. And then listen, I've owned those properties now for 15 years. And now over time, they have gotten back up to roughly 3-4% home price appreciation, which many people thought would never happen. Shows the cyclical nature of it. So I got off on a little bit of a tangent here, but the flat 10% for hard money is there. Set it and forget it for a little bit of time until you have to replace the loan. Less risk of maintenance cost or building or construction cost. No upside of market upside, right? Better if you are very short-term in this for your investment goals. If you want to have a higher upside, if you want to, for all 5 profit centers, if you want to have a better expected return on investment and you're willing to stomach some of the things that are going to go wrong along the way, like I know Jen and Renee are, then your best bet would be using the down payment for the JWB property. The other option is pay off existing mortgages. And what you'll want to consider there is what interest rate you are paying on those mortgages. I guarantee you don't have a 24% interest rate on those mortgages. So if you have a 5% interest rate that you would pay off that loan, what you're making with that money that you would pay off that loan is you're making 5% as your return on that money. So usually that one is going to be less of a return, expected return, than the first two options.
No, and I'll add something, Greg. In addition to the fact you're only earning 5%, it's 5% that you're not actively paying. It's
Right.
not money out of pocket. It's 5% that somebody else is paying, that you put in there that is paying that. So yes, you'll be able to pocket that money moving forward, but in the immediate future, it's not that you're saving yourself money by doing that.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, we do have times where we talk with clients and it's the best thing for them to do to pay down mortgages. So I don't want it to come across like that's a bad thing. It's really dependent on what your goals are. It will have the least amount of expected return and least upside for you, but it still might be the right thing. That's why I would encourage you, if you're a client, talk to your portfolio manager here at JWB. If you're not a client, that's a service that we offer to everybody, is to help you build your buying plan even before we start to talk about you buying properties with JWB. So I would highly encourage anybody to take us up on that. If you're a brand new client or a brand new potential client, you can schedule a time to speak with us at chatwithjwb.com.
Perfect. So I think it's a great way to end the show, right? We're almost at the time. We answered all the questions, which I'm happy that we had. We had lots and lots of really, really great questions. So thank you everyone for asking the questions. If you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, or if you're listening to the podcast and you cannot ask these questions. So that's the only downside of watching this or listening to this, either in a different channel or after the fact. So if you want to be a part of this more active side of the community, be able to participate in the conversation, ask your question, come and join us. And you can do this very easily just by going to nyais.com. If you don't remember this, it's the acronyms of Not Your Average Investor Show. So if you do that, nyais.com, you can join the show actively. You can ask your questions. And like you see, we love answering them. So please come join us for the next show and the next shows to come. I want to thank everybody for asking questions. I want to thank everybody for being so active in the chat. Like I can't even keep track while talking to you. Well, I don't know, Pablo, how you do this. You're a magician. But really great conversation, really great questions, really great answers, Greg. So thank you.
Brother, this has been great. I'm so thankful for you stepping in and upholding the incredibly high standard that Pablo has put ahead here. I've really loved working with you. I love your team. And I think for this community, knowing that Pablo's not going to be indestructible and that there's going to be times when he is not going to be able to be on the show is really important as to where we want to take this show. We want to be here every Tuesday and Thursday. And so having you here, Isar, shows that we are growing in the right way for the show. And I think you did a fantastic job. So thank you so much for being so prepared. Thank you everybody for being here. Like always, it means so much to Pablo, to Isar, to myself, that you guys just want to hang out. It still is just an incredible joy to us. So we're very excited about it. And Isar, geez. Isar, do you know what we have coming up next Tuesday? Do you know what we're doing on the show?
I do not.
I know.
What are we doing on the show? Tell us.
So we've got our CEO, Adam.
Oh yeah, I actually do know.
Adam Eisman's going to be joining. You're going to be joining. I don't know if you're going to be on the show with us here, but it's going to be awesome. Yes. So Adam Eisman's our CEO, and Adam just delivered our 2022 message to our entire team. And he's going to deliver largely the same message about what JWB is focusing on, why we are focusing on what we're doing, our goals, our metrics, the things that we, our overall theme for what we want our team to be thinking about every single day when they come to work. Really, really impactful stuff. And so I think you guys are going to get a ton of value out of it. That's going to be next Tuesday for the show. So I hope you guys will all join us here. And I guess it's about time to sign off. Huh? Did I forget anything?
I don't think so. This was awesome. It was a little pressure. I really had a blast.
Come back anytime, Isar. We appreciate you, buddy. And
thank you. Wear what you wish for. Bye, everyone.
See you guys.